Welcome to the podcast for your spiritual growth.
Evolve,
align,
and embrace. I'm Alex.
And I am Sophia.
Let's start. So nice that you clicked in. In this episode, you will learn about the sacral chakra, the Svadisthana, the second chakra of our 7 main chakras in our body. And it's an energy center that can teach us a lot about ourselves and about our real power. And if you keep listening to this podcast, you will learn more about yourself and also how you can balance it and what to do if it's not in balance. Thanks for tuning in, and now let's start.
Hey Sophia, we're back here.
We're back. Finally.
Yes.
Today we're gonna go over the next chakra. So we wanted to go through all the chakras. And when we decided to do that, that was before COVID-19. But now, as we're all in the same situation, actually all this chakra work seems to be really fitting to talk about it, because as we were preparing this podcast and just a little bit chatting, we noticed that there are really things that when we work on these things right now, it could help us in the situation as a collective and as just personally dealing with all of these emotions and changes and challenges.
To have some tools for mental work is always good, and it totally pays off when you are in a chaos or chaotic time right now, or where everything's different than before, and maybe things are feeling unbalanced, that you can use those tools. And right now we really have the chance to share what we know about how you can help yourself in chakra work, and already tell you how you can use that right now in this specific time that we're in right now, in this quarantine COVID-19 time. Yeah,
Totally. Now is the time that we can work on ourselves. Now we have that time. Most of us, not everybody, but most of us have the time. So it's a good thing to look at our fears and look at how we can turn them around. And energy work is really deep work. We mostly more go to mindset work rather than energy work when I talk to people who are not familiar with chakra work or yoga or all of these more spiritual aspects of life. And I think energy work is so powerful because it's so deep, and it can change your mindset. It can change your physical body and just feelings. So I think also it's a great time to talk about it.
and it all starts with some information.
The second one, so if you, just a side note, if you haven't listened to the first chakra about the root chakra, then I would highly recommend that you listen to that one, because it's nice to just have that information of how the chakras build on each other almost, and how they're related to. I feel like there's there's just a flow in how they
build up.
They build up. Yes,
they are connected. And in issue number 3, we talked about it. So the last episode, we talked about the Muladhara chakra, the very first chakra. And today we're going to talk about the second one.
So the second is the sacral chakra, and it's also called Svadhisthana. And it is right behind, or I don't know, a little bit lower, I think, than the belly button. In that sacral region. And this is a region of a lot fluid and water. So the element of it is water, right? And it has this this fluid energy to it. And as this area has the pelvic area, the genitals, right, the hips, it's all there where there is a lot of flexibility and movement. Like when we think about it, when we sit down, when we round our spine and we go around, this is the area where it comes from, the movement, right? this is this
base
flow.
where it comes from, yeah, from
Yeah,
the,
there's this
Mhm.
flowy thing. So
Steering.
exactly. And it's all about feeling. And the affirmation of it is also I feel, right? It still has this basic instinct with it as connected to the root chakra, right? Because it's the lower chakras which are all more connected to being human. But with it comes this more just more being human, more emotions and creativity, sexuality. It's this joyful, playful nature that comes with it.
Yeah, so it definitely is very instinctive, and even animals have that chakra inside of them, just like the first chakra, but true. It's not about feeling, and it's nice to talk about it and move in it and think about it, because that's the basic characteristic of it. It has our features in it, carries it in it, that we have in us all the time, which are our emotions, our sensuality, which comes through food, through eating, enjoying, through the tongue. The tongue is connected to the second chakra. And sex, having pleasure with yourself, with your partner, with a lot of partners, whatever you feel like. And it this playfulness and this joy is very much connected to becoming creative, because when you play, there's nothing more than creativity leading you through play and through sexual
Interaction.
course, or interaction. And we can see that in children, how they play around, feel, how they, when they're little kids, put everything in their mouth and want to feel with their tongue what it is, and are very curious for the world. Yes. Also, the inside organs, the sexual inside organs, are very much connected to this chakra. And those organs are freaking powerful. They can create new life. There's so much life force in this chakra.
Yeah.
It's a super great, huge power source in our body. And it is super strengthening for ourselves to connect to that power source. Because even if we don't right now in this very moment create a human being, we do have this source in our body to create generally. And it's just part of our nature. We are creators, and this lays in this chakra.
I want to come back to when you mentioned that how we can see that in children, how they play. And that's actually, this chakra is developed in the toddler time. So you can, when kids start to explore and they start to like really look at things around them and play with them and see the different parts of it. And that's when we as parents also tend to be really inspired by our children, because they show us things that we often don't see anymore because we see it as normal, right? But they see the magic in everything, and this playfulness that and they see that the good thing in everything, and it's just, everything is interesting. And that chakra develops in that time of when you grow up. So I think that's also really interesting to know. Also, if you have children, to let your children just explore and find their own way, because often I know that in myself, I'm like, no, you shouldn't do this, you should do that, I want you to play with this. But they find pleasure with things that you would think, this is so like, why are you playing with this and you have all the toys? But they should explore as much as they want, right? And they will find fun and joy in anything, really. So it's interesting to just let them be.
I have a friend, she has a daughter who really likes rubbing, which is basically having her hand in her pants and stimulating herself. And she really enjoys that very much, and also says sometimes is sitting with you on the bed and then starts rubbing. And you can, at that time of their age in their life, teach them how to enjoy themselves, or how to maybe even develop shame. And when she is in kindergarten, she's not allowed to do it, and people are very strict to her about this and are saying, this is bad, you don't do this. Her grandma doesn't say it's a good thing to do. And her parents say, you can always wrap yourself, you can always be with yourself, enjoy yourself, but you can, the nicest thing is if you do it at home, in your bed, when you're by yourself. And even sometimes when she does it, she tells them, I'm rubbing. And sometimes when somebody comes inside, she's like, doesn't feel so happy about having somebody coming.
Yeah.
But sometimes she is feeling very comfortable and is okay with somebody around. It's different, but she really needs it. She enjoys it, and she needs her time. And sometimes you even have to argue with her that she should stop at some point because we have to go somewhere. So
that's interesting.
That is a very, very obvious way of them, of a 5-year-old exploring her sexuality. And cultivating sexuality.
Also, that shows also, if you would totally restrict it and tell someone this is not good, you can't do that, that's when we get imbalanced, right? If our sexuality or our drang, our wanting to do, our urge to explore something, and if that gets cut off, and that is in any part of life, then we want it even more, right? Or we get really weird about it and we get blocked. So this is letting your children explore will keep that flow in that sacral chakra, rather than restricting will either turn it into an excessive expression of this chakra, or a deficient expression, right? So we talked about it last time, that it can go in both ways, in different expressions, or it can manifest in different ways. And if it's deficient, the energy, then it might look like being more stiff, like not being able to enjoy yourself, not being able to allow that, kind of like this inverted, depressed state, where you lack initiative, like you're kind of stiff, you're in your place and you don't want to move. And it's also related to like not allowing any change, right? You're very, this is what you know, and you're not going to go anywhere else.
Like controlling
and frigid almost, right? And then
I have to look up that word. I have to look up frigid. But right.
Yeah. Look it up and tell me what you think.
Kalt.
Just kind of stiff. And the other expression where it's like excessive is when you are feeling so much that we are overly sensitive, and but at the same time you are addicted to pleasure, like you are seeking pleasure all the time, and you want that energy the whole time. And with that always seeking pleasure, you don't have any boundaries, so you lack personal boundaries, and you want more and more. Nothing is good enough. You need excitement and a connection and sexual activity, and it's just all this, I need excitement and pleasure in my life. And that's the other way how it can manifest, right? So there are two ways. So I think it's really interesting. I can definitely more relate to one side of the house, not anymore, but I used to be very drawn to the excessive side, always seeking in some way pleasure, wanting to like always be creative, do things, but to a very higher state, like always seeking something and always on the go, and and overly sensitive and not having these boundaries. So to that I can really,
as a grown-up,
no, it was more in my not teens, but more beginning of 20s, maybe 19, 18, like coming out of school, and then in that time, and I balanced it. Now I don't feel that way anymore at all, but since when I started going into chakras, I was like, yep, that's me.
Really?
It's so interesting. Yes.
For me, it's my when I present myself to the outside world, I'm rather frigid or in control, a little bit more. But in my inside, I have this other side that I want to feel and want to be sexual and express myself and get in touch with somebody. It's like a shadow that's underlying. And I remember just as a kid, I always was turning on the music in the living room, but always around the corner. So my mom, who would be in the kitchen, couldn't see me. So I had this side that I had to live out. I had to dance, to be like expressive, like, because dancing is also very much connected with joy, creativity, sexuality.
It's all creative art, right?
Yeah. Arts are very much connected to this chakra. And so I was having that very strongly, but also hiding it very strongly behind doors in front of some people. And as a grown-up, becoming a dancer and singing in front of people and acting in front of people, I opened up and shared it more and became less shameful. And also when you explain those two sides, so when it's extremely going outward, the energy, and you're like, and when it's extremely going inward and you feel tight, I always have this picture in my head of a club, and in the club is this one person, I don't know, a woman or a man, and when the energy draws inside of your chakra, so inside of your body, you stand and you feel rather in shame, and you don't really want to move, and you don't really want to mingle. You would rather stay somewhere in the back by the wall with crossed arms and legs, and make yourself small and just observe, but really hold to yourself and not dare to go on the dance floor, mingle and dance with anybody. You really just tighten up and maybe actually really ashamed, in control of things, don't want to let go. And if the energy is drawing outward very strongly, you are just going on like a wildcat on the dance floor, dancing, expressing, coming to everybody. Dancing onto everybody. This is kind of how I picture the chakra in two different ways. And when you're in balance, then you just enjoy yourself and you just dance in the way that everybody feels safe around you. Exactly. I would say.
Yeah, you dance, you enjoy yourself, but keep it to a level where you are not so invading.
Yes. Yes.
And but you're connected to yourself. You know when you want to stop, and you can sit on the side with like not being closed off, but just enjoying it the way you feel right now. And it's like, again, going with the flow and accepting how you feel, and then go with that, but not doing it excessively. And I think the way you just pictured this chakra is perfect. Like that's a really good way to just explain how personalities or how that can manifest in you. So for the listeners, like that's a good way, just picturing yourself in that club
scenario,
and then seeing, where do I stand, where am I in that scenario, and that way you can see where your energy of your chakra is at the moment. Always changing, but
because it's always changing. Your chakras always connecting to the outside world and to your inside world. Your inside world is not always the same. The outside world is changing. You might be more open around some people and more closed off around some others. So this is different for every situation.
I wanted to add one thing as you were sharing about your experience of feeling that there was a kind of like disconnection of you having that creativity in you, but then not being able to express it. I actually read about that the sacral chakra is very related to the throat chakra, which is, so they're interconnected, right? And for me, it was
Also
the same.
related to the jaw.
Yeah, to everything here in this area that has to do with the throat chakra. I don't want to go too deep into the throat chakra because we're going to talk about this in another podcast, but just to like let you know just a little bit, the throat chakra is about communication and expression. So these two chakras are related, the lower and the higher chakra, right? So it's this taking this creativity from the sacral chakra to then express it. And if there's a disconnection, then that's what happens, what you just explained, that you are not allowing yourself to express what you have in you and you don't want others to see. And so that, I think it's more than a blocked throat chakra rather than a blocked sacral chakra, because I experienced the same thing. And when I read about this connection, everything made sense to me, because I always had this creativity in me, but I was always a little bit shy to express that and show that to others when because I just didn't have that. I was kind of blocked in my throat chakra and this communication. So I just wanted to add that.
Very good. Very good. Yes. No, we shouldn't mix that up. Yes, definitely. But then I also want to add, because it came up now again, I had it in my head earlier, that actually the jaw is very much connected to the hips and the emotions, and we all tend to make it really tight every now and then, tighten up and not letting go. And in acting school, I learned that it helps to sometimes to actually tighten the jaw. We also, we do warm up sometimes for a jaw, but also to open your lips a little bit and be open and to receive, and to also be open and sensual for yourself. Because if you're like this,
closed,
you're not really up, you're closed up, you're not really open to
closed lips,
eat, to kiss, to take things in. And if you're open and just let it loose, then you can be more sensual.
Totally. And that's also in my, when I teach yoga and we come to Shavasana, for example, or we're in the beginning just like warming up meditation and breath awareness and all of that, I always encourage my students to keep their lips slightly open and let the tongue rest in at the bottom of the mouth in order to release the jaw, because we often really don't realize that that there's tightness or tension in the jaw. And as you said, like tension in the jaw and tension in the hips is all holding emotions and holding experiences, and that brings our energy and our sacral chakra also in imbalance, right?
Because its nature is to flow, and if we hold it, it cannot flow.
It can flow, and
water wants to flow.
So these hip openers, pelvic flexibility, that's like a perfect way. Pigeon, I love pigeon. That is a beautiful way to release some of that energy that is blocking you from experiencing that flow in your body and in your energetics.
When children who are very much well connected to their sacral chakra and are in flow, children, they just start crying out of nowhere, experience the feeling, and then they stop because they've let it flow through, and then they let it go, and then they're happy, they let the happiness flow through, and then they're just neutral again, or whatever they are next. This is totally water characteristic, water feature, sacral chakra stuff going on in children. And as you may notice, we all don't act like children when we're grown up. And as soon as children are not playing anymore, sitting on the ground, but having to sit on chairs when they go to school, this is all becoming more stiff and less moved, the hip area. It's always in the same position. And yes, this is the time when we start as human beings, usually in the Western world, where we sit on normal chairs, to store our emotions down, and then they get, or to swallow them down, or to not express them anymore. And then they usually get very well stored in the hip area. And some people, when they do yoga, out of nowhere have experienced emotions or have to cry. Because then all of a sudden, the chance comes up and emotions get released through the hips openers, like the pigeon and other things that you just mentioned. And yeah.
Totally. And that's also because when we start sitting in chairs, when we start going to school, when we start to be in society, the societal norms get put on us. And as you said, like, we are not allowed to just have a tantrum in the supermarket because somebody was unkind to us or whatever. So it's like, we can experience imbalances just of like random situations that we couldn't resolve, we couldn't really experience or allow ourselves to go into that emotion. And that's totally normal. Like, it's really important that we find the place and find the time where we allow ourselves to feel that emotion, go into that feeling, release it. Crying is a beautiful way to just release that, and not see it as something that is bad, right? We talked about this privately, that these experiencing emotions are often seen as a bad thing. If you're sad, if you're horrified, if you are angry, whatever it is, but we need to release that energy in order to let it go and then move on. And I think that's a beautiful way how we could also tie this chakra to what is happening right now to all of us, to us being in this position where there are a lot of emotion flowing through us or coming to us, and we need to be able to allow them to be expressed and give them room in order to let them go, because otherwise we're going to stay and be like, stay in this emotion, stay in fear, stay in anger, stay in frustration, and whatever it is, right? Sadness.
Or we're going to become really tight because we hold on to them and don't want to feel them, and we just hold on to them and we don't want to feel them, we don't want to open them at all.
Exactly.
And this will tighten us and harden us from the inside.
Again, two ways of then expressing it, either like staying in that emotion and having that emotion excessively, or totally blocking it out and being deficient and not being able to let anything, but then also not joy. You block yourself out from all of the emotions, and that's when stiffness comes and we're getting frigid and like kind of like we can't enjoy life, and that's when depression comes and so and so on. Anyway.
Definitely. We talked about that, and it's just mention it because I was at my gynecologist and she said, you know what, you come from a generation where I have the feeling that you guys, you millennials, you feel like it's not allowed to be unhappy. Like it's not okay to have bad days. You feel like something is really terribly wrong if you are not really happy right now. And she said, you know what, that's super normal, and you guys can start to embrace that again. And when you talk about the sacral chakra, this is the perfect time to say embrace your emotions, because this will help you to stay healthy and to stay balanced, because everything needs space, the good and the bad, the comfortable and the uncomfortable, the sad and the happy. And we also just talked about it the other day, when really happy things happen or great things happen in your life, a lot of it all gets easier to be scared at the same time, to be more scared to lose that. Like when you had your baby, you now have a child. Oh my God, that's amazing. It's great. It's the love in your life is potentiating, or is becoming bigger, because this being that you created is now there. But at the same time, of course, you have, maybe, I don't know if it's you, but generally your mom can have more worries now than before.
Yeah.
So with a lot of joy can come a lot of shadow, and it all has its space, and it's okay to feel stuff.
Yeah.
It's even really good.
Yeah. I like that you tied that into this, because it's so true. It's so funny, as I met my husband, I started to really be true to, or really experience what was going on inside of me. And we had, like, the beginning of our relationship was very passionate, there's so much emotions, positive emotions, right? But then there was like these downfalls, and I was like, wow, where does it come from? How does that happen? I don't understand what it is. And there was not even like a big reason for these emotions to come to me. But he is a little bit older than me, so he kind of already knew that that's just the way of life, right? That life fluctuates. And he was like, you need to have these times in order to have the good times. So it's not seeing it as a, oh my God, I'm doomed now that I have bad emotions and that I don't feel good, but more
He
seeing
was
it,
like my gynecologist.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like,
Good man.
Just accept it, and like let it be what it is, and then move on. And that's I think so much wisdom in that, even it's so simple. But
Good
reminding yourself, when you are in that hole, reminding yourself that from now on it just can go upwards, right? It's just like shoo, shoo, and that's life.
Yeah, when you're in a down space, man, be happy, it can only go up. The next moment, it's amazing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Should we talk a little bit about what can happen when it's blocked, when nothing flows in a good or bad way? So when we hold on and when we're tight. I think we talked about it when we talked about the Muladhara chakra as well, and I think it's a little bit similar, not too much, but I'm just going to try. You can rescue if it's not really true or working, but as far as I know, if the Svadisthana chakra is not balanced and maybe tight and nothing is flowing anymore, and you don't want to feel anything, then you can have, what did we say, cravings, addictions, and specific behaviors, like like really checking out what you're eating,
like overeating, or like either being like very like having a journal about what you eat, controlling yourself, either like it has to,
and not enjoying, really having control in an area where you really like, where people naturally would have enjoyment,
or over enjoying, so like binge eating or overeating. And that's emotional eating, right? It's called emotional eating. So totally, it's this I lost my thought right now,
but definitely that's connected to an unbalanced sacral chakra. Also, an unbalanced sacral chakra can be if you don't want to share a sexuality with a partner, or if you want to have too much connection with your partner or with yourself. This could also be, or even sex addiction. So any kinds of addiction is a good example of a non-balanced sacral chakra.
Any eating disorders, that's what was also my thought. Exactly. So that then shows that there is a disconnect of how you connect to your creativity, or how you connect to this just the basic instincts, right? How you act upon them, and if that's unhealthy, then there's some kind of blockage in your Svadhisthana chakra.
And it could prevent you, or you subconsciously want to prevent yourself of feeling the stuff that is stored down there and that wants to be felt naturally. So you don't want to feel. And also some people have been stuffing everything down and have been teaching themselves to not feel anything, and so they want to feel, and so sometimes they would I don't know, drink to feel good or to feel a certain emotion, drink alcohol, or do some other things, other kind of addiction to feel and
to give them
to feel alive.
To feel alive, yes. So yeah, this chakra is all about being spontaneous, being joyful, being creative, like being sensual, all these living qualities where you really experience life. And when you don't have that, you're gonna naturally go to anything that could affect you. Drugs, like, but any food is drug, right? Sweets are drugs, even. Alcohol, pills,
cigarettes,
I don't know, cigarettes, anything that will give you that feeling of just experiencing and going into your emotions, and that helps you experience it, but it's not the healthy way of activating or going into that chakra, for sure.
Yeah, and your natural capability to experience life, because it's laying in you and you can connect to that, and naturally, yes.
Yeah.
So you said spontaneous. Let's, if you don't want to add anything, let's go back to how it can help us to connect to our chakra number 2 right now in this time of COVID-19, where we have a different life all of a sudden, where we don't know where it's leading to, where some people of us don't have work, where all of us have their children at home, don't know when they are going to go back to school, or if they're going to go back to school that we know has been school until now. Like, we don't really know if everything is going to go back to how it was soon. And there is a lot of uncertainty out there. What would you recommend to us to stay balanced in our second chakra, which is freaking powerful and super important for mental and physical health? Right now in this time?
I would say, so there are a couple things. First of all, like, acceptance is so important, right? Acceptance of the emotions that come up, acceptance of anything that's happened, of the uncertainty, acceptance that we cannot control what's going to happen. And with that, living day by day, right? And seeing every day how can we make this experience as joyful as possible, in a way that we connect to our families and we spend time and let that time just be guided by our children, that be guided by how we feel, rather than
our inner child also, maybe.
Yes. Rather than having this frigid like schedule, the children have to, a lot of the kids get homework or have to homeschool now. So I totally understand that some moms or families, they want to have a system, and they want to make sure that they get all the things done that they need to get done for the school, and they work from home, or, here in America, most of the people work from home now, and they have the kids at home. So there's a lot to balance, but at the same time, try to make it more playful and find your rhythm. And I think that is so important, that right now you have the chance to create your own rhythm and what works for you and your family. And I actually maybe just going to talk a little bit about, I had a masterclass or a webinar just recently about how you can use the time, the elements and qualities of the time of the day, of each time of the day, in a way that is going to be beneficial to just feeling energized and feeling like a flow in your day. And there are different qualities and elements put in place in each day, every day. And it's linked to the Ayurvedic clock. So Ayurveda is the sister science of yoga. And it is based on the thought that everything in life is made out of the elements, space, air, water, fire, and earth, right? And there is a specific time during the day, always between, let me just think, 2 and 6, 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. And in that time frame, the elements of air and space are present and dominate. And in that time, because air and space, there's just air has a lot of movement, right? Space gives space to put something in there. So there might be a lot going on in your mind while you sleep at night, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. There's a lot, your brain is processing a lot. You have the most dreams in that time. And using that time in the afternoon or in the very morning before 6 a.m. to let these qualities of that time also guide you, and just go with being creative, go with the flow, rather than stuffing it with activities that you have to focus on, that you have to really focus or be have to work, or just not put too much in it, not too much activity, and let that time be your creative time. So that's one aspect that we talked about in the webinar, and I think that is a good thing to talk about now, because it's basically like your sacral chakra is guiding this time of the day. And just knowing that and self-inquiring how you feel during that time, so 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. or in the very early morning before 6 a.m. Is just a good way to connect to that sacral chakra. Yeah, let those qualities shine through and be spontaneous and connect to nature and play with your kids, or if you don't have kids, just play. So I think it's just good to know, and then see if that works for you. And if you already have this nature of being very creative, or being a little bit spaced out, maybe even having a lot of thoughts, then this time is maybe good to counterbalance by doing more grounding exercises like meditation, earthing, walking on the ground, going for a walk, right? So yeah, just to throw that in there.
The time between the meals, when you digest and when you're a little bit tired, brain is not functioning super high, but there's still space, and you can just flow and let your day be led by your child or by your inner child, and just say, let's just go with the flow, let's play, let's grab a pen, write and paint, and see what happens, or just do something physical or anything creative.
Or even
go in the garden,
observe,
something,
get what is it, like look at
something creative,
watch a movie or something you can do too, just being inspired also. You can use that time in any way. There's so many ways you can let creativity speak, or show up in that time. But that's a good way to give you that, because as I said, like a lot of us are at home with the kids, and we do have to do things. So it's not, we can't just always go with the flow, but at least giving yourself time, do every day, giving yourself a time frame where you can express that and where you can go with that.
Where you don't have to function as a mom, as a grown-up, organizing the house and the children at home and the work. To have a window for that.
Exactly.
For that chakra to be healthy and balanced.
And
every quality we have, we're good at organizing. We are smart people, but we're also human beings with emotions. Yes. Yeah, totally. And also it's connected to the fact that the sacral chakra is connecting us to our families. If we were born by our moms, so we are connected in that chakra with our mom and our dad, and I think even with our sister, because we're all with our siblings. We're all connected in this family based energy center. Also with our children, we have born, and we can now, in this COVID time, go back to this connection. We have time, maybe we do have more time now, some of us, to spend it with them, or to just acknowledge that we have us, that we have each other, and connect to this connection that we have on a biological and physical level with our family members. This is definitely a chance right now to get to dive into this more, and not to be distracted from a schedule, from having to go there and having to run errands and run from A to B, drive the car. We now do have less distractions, and we now have the chance to connect to our biological, physical family connections more. Which is super powerful.
And I feel like in the beginning, when all this started, I heard a lot of families with young children or younger children be a little bit stressed out, because they were like, how am I gonna spend the whole day or the whole week at home with my children, because they have so much energy and I don't know how to deal with this. And it's funny because we're not used to that anymore, but at the same time, like, because we run from place to place, especially I feel like here in the States, it's a lot like a lot of families have to give their children to daycare or to school very early, because they just have to work, right?
They have to have the money.
And that's just how it is. We don't get a lot of like leave here for having when we have a new baby. And it gives us this time to get to know our family and our kids in the core, rather than just spending like 2 to 4 hours a day with them, where we have to make breakfast or dinner, or there's always things to do. Now we have that time to maybe like really connect to them and get to know them on a deeper level. And I think that is it is powerful, and it connects us a little bit. It again is connected to the root chakra. It connects them and us to our roots and where we come from, and also brings forth where our values lie, right? And where so it all comes together. I don't know. So I like that thought about focusing on family and connection in this time. Totally.
And letting all the frustration also come up, because it comes with the beautiful things. The hard things come, and when we agree to the mantra I feel, then we do also agree to just feeling frustrated sometimes with our loved ones at home.
Totally. And that's but it's all real. It's all authentic, and just it's there, and it has to be felt. That's life. And we have to let that be in our life in order to experience anything. And maybe more look at it, stepping out of it a little bit and experiencing that feeling, but watching it as being a witness almost. That these emotions,
not identifying with it.
Exactly, that this is just something we have to move through. And it's again like more identifying with your true self rather than the emotions or thoughts you're having, right? To step a little bit back and just observe like what is happening right now, and maybe just by observing you will find a solution or feel better, because you understand that this is just a wave you're flowing through, and it's all things come to an end, right? So it's just again letting emotions be and allowing them, accepting them, flowing through them.
Accepting yourself more is connecting to that quality. It's like your inner child inside of you, which is crying, laughing, smiling, being neutral, hungry, not hungry, wants to sleep, doesn't want to sleep. This is your sacral chakra being alive, and we can just observe and be in compassion with that, with our side, with our emotions, and let them run through, and then let them go again without identifying with them. Yes. That was a lot of information. Do you have to add anything? I feel like
I'm looking at maybe a couple things, just some ways to release it other than doing hip openers. Other hip opener exercises are happy that you can do on the mat, or anything really where your hip is opening in some way. Warrior 2 even is a hip opener, right? Any
Lunge.
or yeah, lunge is more neutral, I would say, because both hips are forward, but as long as the hips open externally, that's when I would say is more a hip opener. I would say lunge is more a hip strengthener, I would say. I'm not sure if you agree.
Yeah, I just feel a lot of stretch when I do lunge and when I go down.
Oh yeah.
So
it's
it goes through. Generally, it's more obvious that when you open your hip, and when it's not when the hip bones are not aligned and parallel to each other anymore. Then it's a very, very nothing else than a hip opener. Yeah.
It's just even a hip, like an easy pose, like a meditation, how you sit in meditation on the floor, that is even a hip opener, right? So it can be very simple, but yeah, these are beautiful ways to just release some tension in your hips. And then also for your jaw, like having a massaging your jaw bones, or shaking your, I don't know how to explain that, but like to
chin,
grip your chin and then just shake it back and forth is a beautiful way to relax it. And when the first time I did that, also in acting school, I actually like released a lot of emotion, and I started remembering things about my childhood in that, like in the moment when I was releasing it, that were causing that I then identified as blockages that made me be unbalanced in a certain way in this chakra. So it's really interesting how when you start doing these exercises, things will come up that you not necessarily thought about or didn't even think that it was still in your memory, right? So that's really interesting. And then hydrate, like we want to get the water quality into our being, right? So hydrating, drinking a lot of water, but also there's a water mudra that you can do to enhance the water in or promote more water and fluidity in your body. And that is by having the middle 3 fingers straight out and then connecting. And it's a little bit, I still can't really do it because my one finger comes out, but you can connect the tips of your thumb and your pinky and then have the other ones straight out. So it's like, yes, but I have trouble with this. I don't know.
It's hard.
It's really hard.
This one wants to go away.
Yeah,
my ring
for
finger
me too. But having that promotes water in your body. So this flow. So that's a beautiful way to do when you meditate. And then one more thing I thought was really interesting is that this chakra is also, you exchange energy through that chakra, right? This is a very sensual sexual connection, but not only sexual connection. This is all connection, as you said, like with your family, with other people. So we often also right now in this time, we take energies from other people, maybe energies that we don't necessarily want, negativity, right? Or just worries, fears from other people. So it's good to cleanse that energy. And one way to do that is a salt bath, actually. And you can either do a salt scrub, like just having some olive oil, some essential oils if you like, and then salt, like sea salt, like any natural salt, and then just in the shower scrub your body, and that is supposed to release any energetics that you have to get into your being. Yeah. That's a very like just a very handfast, how you say, like just an example how to hands-on, yes, a hands-on tool that you can do really anytime, and you have most of the ingredients in you don't even have to put any essential oils, but if you want like clary sage or frankincense, something like that, and just put that few drops in it, and it's supposed to release energetics that you got from outside sources.
Man, and if you do something nowadays, there's so much fear everywhere around you. It's maybe it's so hard not to pick up something.
It is, but also it's kind of good to stay at home for that reason. I was beginning, I was like, I don't have a problem staying at home because it keeps me away from these energies that I pick up. Yeah.
So your husband is going grocery shopping then, yeah?
The only thing that I have to do, of course.
Okay. All right. Oh yeah. Yeah. I really do also like to that's from dancing, to warm up my hip, it's an essential way to warm it up, to circle my hip to the front, to the back, to imagine that there's like that I have like a schale, a cup, but a really flat cup that's maybe for fruits. It's not for cereals. And it carries all my powerful sexual organs inside that can create life, and all the water energy. And then I move my hip and enjoy it, and have really cool, sensual, sexy music on, and fun music, because I enjoy it and feel all the pleasure, and just get some liquid in my hip bones, and in the ligaments, in the joints, and warm up my my hip area, my joints. And this is also good for activating your water, and also maybe it can release things. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Also, I like that one. I do that also in my morning practice, mostly just moving my hip. It just feels good. Yeah.
Some people even like to sit on the floor all the time. I know a person who got rid of all his chairs and now is having lunch on the floor with his family, or dinner and lunch food. So the hips are being opened again, and not because you have to sit in a different kind of way on the floor. Your hip is more open when you sit on the floor, right?
Yeah.
There's no way. It's hard to keep it closed up when you're sitting on the floor.
Yeah, and that's why also a lot of people have like trouble sitting on the floor, or finding a comfortable seat sitting on the floor, because they're just not used to it, and their hips are just so closed up.
In our yoga class, it was very hard for months to sit on the floor. And listen to the teachers.
Oh yeah, I remember. But you get better in time, and it opens up naturally. So
yeah.
You have anything to add, Alex?
I have nothing to add right now.
I think I'm pretty much all my wisdom, all my thoughts are out there,
yes. Cool, super good. Thanks for sharing. It was amazing, especially the last bit. I like the ideas how we can balance everything that you gave us. Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
So yes, if you had any images in your head about yourself while listening to our words, that's definitely your cue for where you're standing in your sacral chakra and what you connect to it right now. And if you have any questions, contact us. We're super happy to talk to you guys about everything. And thank you so much for spending time with us right now here.
Yes, thank you so much. Much love to everyone, much support. And again, we are here for help. Anything is up, as Alex said. We are excited to help out and give what we can.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's podcast about the Svadisthana Chakra. We talked about how it can manifest in you and how you can balance it. We would love to hear your feedback, so please, please, please let us know what you think. Share it with your family and friends, and tag us in any social media posts about this podcast. I hope you drew something out of understanding your sacral chakra, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.